Hi guys, welcome back to Underwater Astrology, giving you the astrology from April 4th to April 11th. I want to be very clear that Mercury is just about to go into retrograde, or has been in retrograde at the beginning of the beginning of last week. And we have the beautiful Sun and Aries starting the new astrological year. Mercury's in retrograde. Venus is starting off 29 degrees Pisces and then going into Aries. Mars is moving a degree a day. Jupiter moves a degree. Saturn stays the same. Uranus moves a degree. Neptune goes into retrograde pretty much later this year. And then we have true node in the 15 degrees of Aries. So we are preparing for a lot. For example, so as Neptune is going retrograde July 2nd, 2024, it is super important to be mindful of that we will be going into retrograde season around the start of May. There will be Pluto retrograde. There'll be Neptune retrograde a month later, 2 months later. There'll be the Uranus retrograde, the Jupiter retrograde October 9th. And there'll be the Uranus retrograde September 1st. Super important to know that these readings are very simple. If you want a verified reading, you can book a reading with me on my Instagram, instagram.com/underwaterastrology. There should be an email there, or you are able to look at the email attached to this video. For Aries rising, it's important to say that this retrograde is in your sign, and you have a lot of Neptune going on in your 12th house. So you guys are like seeing one love and the potentiality of your power, but then you stop and you say this is too much. The universe does not let you go past a certain point. So you guys are a signal of who you are and what you're distributing in a very deep way. Do I think Aries is powerful? Yes, but do I think there is negative Aries? Of course. We just had the Libra lunar eclipse, March 25th in 10 degrees Libra. Numerical value, 10, midheaven. Maybe people are getting competitive about their career. Maybe Aries is the first to jet start that energy. Who knows? The eclipse has 6 months effect, right? So for Aries, it's like understanding you could try to do your whole Neptune placement of 12th house, but the universe is likely to bring you people who are gonna bring you into balance with the South Node Libra energy. We are at perfect balance with South Node Libra in 15 degrees, learning what we've sown in and creating a more balanced future for ourselves. Chiron in 19 degrees Aries is all about using imagination to lift your level of understanding into the other. So I think understanding that for every sign there might be something gruesome and intense, and I think with Saturn and your 12th, it could be the subconscious mind, but the willingness to work through it all is what brings in the healing effect this week. For Taurus rising, this week is really about understanding that you have Sun and Aries in your 12th house. The Mercury retrograde is happening here. And I also feel like we have Venus in this tense moment at the beginning of the week, and then it goes into Aries. But I think you guys are realizing, wow, like sometimes you feel like you're the most powerful sign, and then sometimes you feel like you're the weakest sign. And I think you just need to stay goal-oriented with being seen and how you're expanding. A lot of you are in therapy, right? Because Chiron's in your 12th house. So that means like you need a lot of cushioning on maybe some of those subconscious upheavals that you've had growing up for some of you. For some of you, you just need someone to monitor what you're making, what you're creating this week. For Gemini rising this week, it's really about understanding that love is here. Love is truly here. Gemini rising, but you guys are the masters, the tricksters. you guys are also the Lovers card in the tarot deck. So you guys have the ability to move the collective in a leadership way with this Aries 11th house ability of being the leader in your 11th house. But you guys also have the ability to understand that there might be people pushing you too far in your career. Maybe you feel like with all this Neptune in the 10th house, especially going further into Neptune and Pisces, whoa, I'm going way too far. You know, I'm going way too far into areas that don't matter. Because I feel pressured with Saturn. It's the pressure cooker this week because Mercury's in retrograde in your 11th house. So you're like deeply evaluating how people see you. So be mindful of that. For Cancer rising this week, I really think it's about understanding that you guys are very competitive with how you're seen. Very good at what you do. Mercury's in retrograde in the 10th house. And that's telling me that you guys might be revising of how you come across. Maybe you're slow. Mercury, anytime there's a retrograde, I always feel like it's about rhythm. Like, how are you rhythmically setting up your life, right? Like, with the Mercury retrograde, it could be like, are you ready for these new algorithms of maybe people adding dystopic factors to your career? Is that really necessary? Chiron here is asking you to be imaginative. Asking you here to be imaginative with your career. Are you ready to do that? Are you ready to create? And I also think a lot of you are trying to, like, do things that are out of your comfort zone. If you feel uncomfortable with it, Cancer, don't do something. If you feel uncomfortable trying to address an issue that has nothing to do with what you know, you can literally just say, I don't know, I wouldn't. Right? For some of you. A lot of Cancers are mothers. So a lot of you guys could be guiding people, like, foreseeing the future of your kid. And in that process, sometimes kids can be like, is it safe, Mom, to go to the pool now? Sometimes it's just like, I don't know. With the election going on in the States and everything happening in the world with the fires, the Chile earthquake, there's so much happening that I feel like right now with this Mercury retrograde, Cancer is like one of the most powerful signs, and just being like, it's seriously the mind. This week, we all have to slow down. And I see you being really empowered with that because, like, Neptune in the 9th, like, everybody believing in your system, but then Saturn, the universe, proving that your system is true. So it's like you guys know the system, you guys have a good system, but you're also validated this week. So that's exciting. For Leo rising this week is really about understanding that you guys are used to being on your throne, and like North Node Aries was like all this hot fire, all this hot validation. But now we're coming in the middle point with 15 degrees Libra, South Node, and 15 degrees North Node Aries. So what that's telling me is that maybe you were like known to be the most sexiest person in your career, right? Maybe you just had this system of validation. I do this and I do that, and I come home and I'm validated. I go to my photo shoot, I come back. But now the system has changed because Libra wants to teach you, who are you when your partner gets more validated? Who are you when your child gets more validated than you, or like your friends get more validated? How do you react? And I think for Leo rising, this is a fate that's been somewhat anticipated, right? And I think that you regularly need to find something that is attuning to your vibration to remain a constant, because having Neptune in the 8th can be highs and lows. Such strong intimacy, and then with the right thing, right? So it could be such strong intimacy with the future, knowing, psychic visions, just like on the next mission. And then with the Saturn, it's all validating, right? But then we're talking about a constant here with goals and rhythm, right? With the Mercury retrograde. So you need to find a constant. If your partner is getting more validated this week, how are you going to regulate how you see yourself? Are you going to say, I'm nothing, I am the floor to walk on? No, you should be able to validate yourself. I'm attractive, I'm beautiful, I'm confident. You validate yourself. And you can talk down to people. It's just who really are belittling. But it's just, can you be validated at the same time your partner's being validated? I do think these are fates that are predestined to happen, and they're happening. We are also in the twin flame golden age, so a lot of you are like learning who are your true intimate relationships and your true purposes. And that's really interesting for you, Leo rising. For Virgo rising, this week is really about understanding, like, Sun is in Aries in the 8th house, right? So it's like you guys really feel passionate about something. Maybe you're totally lost in something. But then there's Neptune in the 7th saying, I want to crawl down this alleyway. And everyone's like, no, bad idea, right? Everyone's like, that's a bad idea. We've told you for many times. And we've said that this is a dangerous route, yet you still go. And then Saturn comes down and says, you should really listen to these partners that are really closer to Saturn. With all this Neptune, it could be doing drugs to fit in. Virgo rising this week. There's a lot going on this week with Pluto and Aquarius in its first house. So that could be really intense. Yeah, so it could be really intense with Pluto in the 1st degree. You also feel like Virgo, I also feel like you should be telling people the benefits of being reserved. I think a lot of people are like so much on this Aries high of like, it's all about me, and their fate has been bad. And thank God we're in the halfway point, and I think you could share some of that energy of like how you've been empowered, being more quiet in your work. For Libra rising, this week it's really about understanding. Sun is in Aries in your 7th house, and it's like you guys were born to be grounded in elements. So some of you are mastering elements. Mastering the element of love. Uranus in your 8th house. Jupiter there too. That's telling me that maybe you went too far with getting really nitpicky over something where you totally lost your mind, and now the whole balance of everything is so off. But that's Libra's whole thing, is that they're constantly, that's the whole thing about Libra, is they're constantly trying to put things in balance. Talk to their inner child. That's probably what they're doing. Oh, but this needs to be in balance. Libra appreciates beauty. So maybe this week it's about understanding where beauty has been lost and where beauty can be regained with all of the election and the fires and the earthquakes and stuff. Maybe Libra is the leader this week, because I see Aries as a leadership sign. I said maybe Libra is the sign that's the leader of showing where beauty is when beauty is lost. That's how I feel. For Scorpio rising this week, it's about understanding that you guys are pretty much the leader in the 6th house. You guys are really good with routine. You guys are getting everyone on their routine, making sure everyone's fed, clothed, ready to go. And that's really exciting. I really see this new attribute to you, and I'm really proud of you guys. Also, the South Node's here. Mercury's in retrograde here. So maybe you're like rethinking your work, or how to retune how you see your work or your routine. Do you like your routine? Do you like where you live, for some of you? Right? Because Pluto's in Aquarius in your 4th house. So now you're working with the energy of maybe it's time to branch out and try different, like DNA lines. We all have DNA lines. Anybody can move anywhere at any time. But what is the best DNA line? Well, that's Scorpio rising. That's really something only you could truly figure out. So Pluto in Aquarius in 1st house as a symbol shows a safe and comfortable place to live, work, pray, and practice our spiritual lives. So maybe Scorpio rising is really rethinking, do I fit in my area? Are there cool areas to be in? What is more safe for me this week? For Sagittarius rising, this week is really about understanding, is my love life hot and poppin'? How do I make it more hot and poppin', like some hot salsa? You guys are definitely on a beautiful energy with Neptune in 4th, but again, Saturn, the universe is going to come in inevitably and say you've gone too far into your heightened intuition or your emotional states and you're not regulating your family ideals enough. So that's going to come up this week, exactly. South Node in Libra in your 11th house, telling me that you guys are on some kind of path of some kind of mastery of getting out of low states of consciousness. But you also are very conscious of how people see your family at the same time. So maybe it's you have to raise the state of your family's consciousness, but that does take, or for some of you, your soul tribe, but that does take communication with Pluto and Aquarius, creating safe communication, and that's what I see this week. For Capricorn rising, this week it really is, again, for you guys, do I feel safe in how I value myself? Do I feel valued? Your Uranus and Taurus and Jupiter in your 5th house telling me that you guys have been having an exciting art practice, exciting love life. And some things cannot be rendered for you because you have a weirdly karmic year lined up. You are supposed to be in and out of Pluto this year. So maybe you are learning how to work with your different Pluto. But to be honest, I don't think anyone wants to go back to the beginning of Pluto and Capricorn. Thank God we're not. And thank God we're only going back to the degrees we are, because that was our destiny and those degrees will be beautiful. But we're not going back to Pluto and 0 degrees Capricorn. So what does that mean? You guys have a certain personality transformation that happened and a certain understanding of what is truly needed in communication. But the universe is going to say, at some point, Saturn's going to come in and say, how idealistic are you being about this communication? Are you seeing the psyche, the siblings for some of you, the short distance travel accurately? Are you really lining up how you value yourself with the safety? The universe is just mirroring that. Saturn is just coming in, mirroring, I don't think that's safe the way you're doing things. So it's just going to mirror, I don't think you've been communicating safely. That's going to come up this week for Capricorn rising. On the positive end, you have Libra in the South Node. And that could just give you some, I don't know, it's like giving you some like good validation of what you've done so far. But Capricorn rising is a hardworking sign. So I really do think focusing on being too Neptunic in communication and psyche, short distance travel and siblings, and then Saturn being like, well, you were too Neptune and this happened. Right? So it really is watching your Neptune levels, really regulating. Am I trying to see something blown out of proportion, or do I really need to like step in and focus on something else? For Aquarius rising, this week is really about understanding. Sun is in the 3rd house in Aries for you. So you guys are really feeling the leadership of communication, psyche, siblings, short distance travel. You guys are really awakened by that energy, because Aries is a cardinal fire sign. But it's also showing you the balance with your belief system, because it's at 15 degrees South Node Libra. So now after the Libra eclipse, it's like, do we really have time to focus on all the little details and hairs of someone else's story? Because Libra's in the 9th house. So we have to get moving. So it's almost like, you know what I mean? It's almost like I would just understand that like you guys are understanding the micro and macro this year the best. And I also think that Pluto and Aquarius in your 1st house is really understanding that it really is about, do you feel safe in how you're expressing your personality? Do you want to work with other artists? Why do you work with the same artists for some of you? Why is art so out of question right now in general? Like, these are questions I feel like Aquarians would know because they're so intellectual and of the ether elements. They're fixed. And I think Aquarius is having the biggest wake up out of all of the signs. I think all of the signs are having a huge wake up, but I think Aquarius is understanding that. Another thing also is that Neptune is in the second house. And so maybe you feel like you've been over evaluating a situation and like just over to the top. Actually, I don't think that. So I'm going to take that back. I think Aquarius is having the biggest wake up, and I'll stop there. For Oh, well, I guess I could say for Aquarius rising, be careful of spending too much because sometimes with Neptune in second, it's not that you're evaluating a situation too much. You can always evaluate a situation to the bone. It's more so that it's the money. It's the money. Also, yeah, be careful of spending too much. For Pisces rising, understand that, yeah, for Pisces this week, understand that Sun is in Aries in the second house. So you're really feeling this value, you're valuing yourself. So maybe you're picking up the pace on that, but also realize that if you were to be in everyone's business, right, like walking down to every neighbor's street trying to give them cookies, maybe something weird would happen, right? These are just conversations that I don't think we talk about enough. I think there's this like small talk of like, shh, don't do this, don't do that. But I think a new America is being born, one that's complicated and controversial to many countries, and one that takes evaluation of everything to an insane level. And I think there's nothing more stupid than trying to say that you're not over evaluating a situation. If anything, for the state's astrology, feel very safe in over evaluating everything because nothing has been evaluated enough. And I feel like this week with Aries and Mercury retrograde in Aries, we can see where have we gone too fast, too quickly. Too fast, too quickly. I don't think there's such thing as over evaluating a situation too much. But I think you also need to survive. So I also think fundamentally having the needs of do you have enough food and a safe place to sleep is like extremely important because Pluto's in Aquarius in your 12th house. And it's all to do with this theme of our spiritual lives, forging links to new worlds, creating civilizations out of natural elements. So this is in your subconscious mind. Just be careful where you're looking for that, right? Thank you so much for tuning into Underwater Astrology for the week of April 4th to April 11th, 2024. Hope to see you next week for the astrology update. Stay safe. Namaste. Underwater Astrology.